Wonderhussy here. How are you doing today? I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I'm way up here in far northern California, which is a part of the state I don't get to very often. And you might be wondering why that is, because oh my god, it's absolutely gorgeous up here. And I do get around California quite a bit. You know, I actually live in California myself, albeit the farthest southeastern, woebegone, godforsaken corner of it, right outside Death Valley. But you know, I've been all over California. This summer, I went down to Southern California to visit my friend Mike Z in Hollywood. And then I spent a bunch of time in the Bay Area visiting my mom and my friend that lives in San Francisco. So why is it that I don't come up way up north very often? Well, that's because, to be honest, as beautiful as it is up here, it kind of sketches me out. That's right, it sketches me out, aka the gal that'll go hiking in rattlesnake-infested country wearing flip-flops and explore any abandoned ghost town in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. I ain't scared of anything. What could I possibly be scared of up here? Well, I don't know, it just seems like there's plenty to be scared of up here in far northern California, where all these murderous hippies run these illegal grow operations, okay? I know marijuana is legal now in California and beyond, but there's still plenty of folks growing weed illegally up here. And well, it always kind of weirds me out to hang out in the forest up here, because you never know if you're camping on somebody's illegal grow operation and if they're gonna shoot you. Anyway, I pulled over at the side of this beautiful highway because I had to take a tinkle, and there's a pretty good example of why this area weirds me out so much. So there's this sign back here that it looks like, well, some hippie covered it with paint, so you can't really see what it says too well, but it looks like it was put up here by the FWS, which I'm guessing is like the Fish and Wildlife Service or something. And it looks like, warning, something is dangerous, something behind this sign, something about recreational use, guarantee, blah, 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 blah. And then it ends with something about the California Penal Code. And then of course there's this crazy wizard or magician's hat painted over it, so I can't even really tell what it says. I'm guessing it must have something to do with this little creek that looks like it runs down, well, you probably saw earlier, there's a bridge that the highway goes over, so there's probably some kind of creek down below, and I'm guessing there must be some kind of swimming hole or something, because it looks like somebody left a towel here. And somebody painted over this other sign that's posted on a tree over here next to what looks like it's a trail. So my guess is it probably leads to some kind of really cool little swimming hole. And I guess the warning sign is maybe just a kind of swim at your own risk, liability kind of thing. I don't know. And to be honest, I don't even know that I have the time to go poking around down here, because I'm actually on a mission trying to get to another spot up here. But since I'm down here anyway, well, what's that they say about curiosity killing the hussy? Oh yeah, look at this. I guess that was just a warning sign for this beautiful creek that, oh my goodness, look at that. This would be an awesome place to blow up my floaty, pop open a ranch water, and go for a skinny dip. And I may end up doing just that before the day is over. But believe it or not, this isn't the reason I drove up here. I actually still have another 15-20 miles to go to my actual destination, which is a hot spring. That's right, you know, or you should know if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, that I am absolutely bonkers for hot springs. I've been to over 100, but I've never been to this particular hot spring. And that's partly because, well, what I've been talking about. I'm kind of sketched out by far northern California. Not just because of the murderous hippies and their illegal grow operations, but also because there's a lot of tweakers up here, okay? There's a lot of meth in Northern California. You know, when you think of hippies, well, you're probably thinking of the bougie hippies in the Bay Area, you know, the Marin County hippies driving all them pretty little Subarus and VW vans and going to them festivals and you know, taking the mushrooms. Well, that's not quite the same kind of hippies that they have up here. Northern California is pretty rugged. If you come way up north into these forests, there's not a lot of towns, there's not a lot of infrastructure. Folks have had to learn to rely on themselves. And so a lot of them are heavily armed and very anti-government. Anyway, the whole area just kind of makes me nervous, and this hot spring in particular. Well, the reviews that I read about it online, well, let's just say that's what's been keeping me away. This particular hot spring, when you read the information online, well, I guess it's on private property, but the landowner allows anybody who wants to come soak in the hot spring. But apparently, if you park at the side of the road to hike to it, well, there's supposedly a good chance that your car is going to get broken into. And there's supposedly a lot of signage to that effect, spray painted warnings, just a lot of overall sketchiness in the area and like a real methy vibe. But as sketched out as all of that makes me, it doesn't quite conquer my desire to see this hot spring. Oh, wait, look, I found a sign that isn't painted over, and it says, posted, no hunting, no fishing, no trespassing, Shasta Cascade Timberlands. Oh, wow, what a bummer, man. I guess that beautiful little swimming hole is owned by this timber company. There's a lot of timber up here, obviously. We're in a giant friggin' forest, and I passed about 50 trucks carrying tree trunks on my way up here. Yeah, I guess apparently this whole area is owned by this timber company, and they don't want people coming down here to skinny dip. Okay, well, I guess that's all good, because this ain't where I want to go anyway. And well, to be honest, if the other place doesn't pan out, I might come back here anyway, because I'm way less afraid of a timber company than I am of a bunch of murderous tweakers. Okay, so far everything looks just fine, but according to what I read online, you have to pass through a few really sketchy little settlements on your way to this place. Okay, I just looked at Google Maps, and I actually have another 17 miles to go, so I guess that's plenty of time for things to change, because right now it doesn't look bad at all. I mean, look at that. American flags hanging up, very neatly trimmed grasses and trees. I mean, so far it's absolutely beautiful, but I still can't keep the theme from Deliverance out of my head. Squeal like a pig, boy. Yikes. So, you're probably wondering, well, gee, Wonderhussy, if you're so sketched out by these hot springs, why are you going to them? Are you that crazy about hot springs? Well, yes, I am that cuckoo for hot springs, but it's also, I'm just skeptical. You know, I don't always believe what the internet says, and I have a sort of a hunch that maybe these bad reviews were written by people who want to keep these hot springs all to themselves. Or maybe these reviews were written by bougie Bay Area hippies who came up here and, you know, got weirded out. You know, folks who live in Marin County aren't used to seeing busted old trailers and old tires at the side of the road, stuff like that. Well, like I said, I'm from the edge of Death Valley, so I am definitely used to seeing busted old trailers and old tires at the side of the road, on people's roofs, and just about everywhere you can think of. So I kind of wonder if this whole thing isn't just a matter of subjectivity. Although that's not exactly a great sign. A pile of wrecked old cars that could be stolen, but they could just be salvage. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to soak in a hot spring. I like to think the best of people until proven otherwise. What? Oh, man. Okay, I finally got to the area where you're supposed to park for this hot spring, and it says, well, it says private property, permission to pass, revocable at any time, which I already knew. No dogs, no camping. But then down here it says, no public access. Oh, what a bummer, man. According to this website I read online just a couple hours ago that had 2024 updated information, this place is supposedly still available to soak. But it looks to me like they turned it into a hip camp. Okay, if you know anything about hip camp, it's kind of like Airbnb but for campsites. So if you have a piece of property that just happens to have a beautiful hot spring on it, you can charge people to pitch a tent. So I guess that's the story here now. Unfortunately, the gate is locked. It says if I want to reserve a campsite, I have to email blah, blah, blah. Well, there's no cell signal here, so I couldn't email them even if I wanted to. And I might. I mean, I'm not really one to camp in campsites, and I don't like paying for hot springs, but since this one is on private land, I understand it's the landowner's right to do whatever they want. I don't know, man. God, I drove all the way out here. I wasn't going to stay very long because I was so nervous about the whole smash and grab thing. And yeah, we did see some pretty sketchy situations along the road coming up here. So, gosh, if I parked my car here, I'd probably just be worrying the whole time I was in the hot spring. Anyway, I was just going to go down there long enough to basically shotgun a ranch water and then hightail it back out of here. But since I can't do that, apparently, well, golly, I might as well see if I can find, I mean, this creek runs through, I think, a bunch of national forest land, and there's a bunch of campgrounds right down the way, so maybe I can at least find some little spot along the creek to take a Consolation skinny dip and drink one of my world famous Consolation beers. Well, I think I found a place I can at least go for a skinny dip before I leave this beautiful area. I mean, I'm still not trusting my car to be unlocked while I go do this, but yeah, it is. It's absolutely beautiful. And so I found this little, well, it's actually a campsite down by the creek. And there's a really nice area where I can take a skinny dip, even though it won't be in a hot spring. I guess this is the next best thing. I mean, look at this creek. This is absolutely beautiful. Little rapids coming from upstream, just around the bend. There's a little bridge. I think the road keeps going. But I pulled over here because this is very clear water and it's relatively deep. Deep enough, anyway, for me to plop my booty in my floaty and basically shotgun a Consolation beer to celebrate not making it to the hot spring. The only downside is it looks like the current is moving relatively swiftly, and well, I would absolutely hate to be carried all the way downstream. Fortunately, I came up with a solution, and that is, woo! Wow, this is definitely not a hot spring. I brought my toe strap. Haha, get it? Toe strap? You gotta get up pretty darn early in the morning to get one over on Wonderhussy. Wonderhussy 1 river. Oh, well, I was gonna say 0, but I guess the river already got me once because it blocked me from going to the dang hot springs, which incidentally are just right down this very same river. And so if I were so inclined to slip my toe out of this strap, well, then I could just float on down the river to the hot springs the old-fashioned way, and I'm pretty sure the legal way. Okay, I'm not super up on my law. In fact, I don't even have a law degree. Shocker. But I think any navigable waterway is legal public access. So I know there's another hot spring in Northern California, farther south of here, called Crabtree, that there's been a big ruckus about because I guess it's on somebody's private property, and well, this woman is not happy about having all these filthy hippies soaking and partying and camping on her property, and so she closed down access to the hot spring. There's been a battle going on for years, and according to at least one blog I read, since that hot spring is on a creek too, legally you can wade up the creek. I don't remember how far, a mile or something, to get to those hot springs, and you're perfectly within your legal rights. So I'm guessing this would be the same situation. I mean, I guess this law, I guess it's a law, stems from the old-timey days when people used to actually navigate in boats, you know, canoes, like the old mountain men, you know, Jedediah Smith canoeing down this creek, or Lewis and Clark, you know, canoeing down the Missouri River like they did. Back in the day, people used to use rivers and creeks to get around, and so I guess it's a holdover from those days that still to this day, any navigable waterway is open to the public. So these hot springs just down the river from here would technically be okay for me to soak in if I floated to them. Unfortunately, I think I'm about 2.5, 3 miles upstream from the hot spring, so that would take, I don't know, it might not take that long to get down there, but it would take a long time paddling back up, and I definitely don't want to be walking along this road, let alone hitchhiking. So I'm just gonna float here, connected to my tow strap, and drink the aforementioned Consolation beer, or ranch water, as the case may be, and try not to think about the fact that there's 3, 4 delectable piping hot springs right down the river from me. Cheers. That's the thing about these Consolation beers. They're kind of bitter. Well, I'll be. According to this hot spring guidebook I've been using for probably over a decade, this hot spring is supposedly totally accessible. Now, this is the 40th anniversary. I think it was published in 2019, so it's like 5 years out of date. And that website I read this morning was supposedly updated this very year. Apparently none of these resources are really up to date on what's actually going on in the real world, because this book shows people having a fine old time in 1, 2 pools at this hot spring, and it doesn't say anything about having to book a hip camp. It just tells you how to drive there and then how to hike in. And oh my god, especially that tub there looks amazing. But interestingly, they have different driving directions in this book than they did on the website. So even though it's like 4 o'clock and I really need to get out of here because, well, I need to find a place to camp, and yeah, sure, where I parked is a campsite, so technically I could spend the night right here. Well, with all these reports of smash and grabs and tweakers, I'm not really sure I want to. Nah, I'm just gonna hike back to my car and cruise back on down the road past all those sketchy, busted up cars and see if I can't find this hot spring using the directions in this guidebook. That's right, I'm not going to give up quite yet. I'm going to make one more attempt before I leave this area. And with any luck, I'll finally get to dip my toes in some hot water without using my toe strap. Okay, I'm going to try one more time to get to this dang hot spring. Okay, the guidebook says you're supposed to drive down this very rough dirt road for about 1 mile past an old Native American cemetery, and supposedly that'll take you right to the hot spring. And of course, I tried to drive down this very rough dirt road, and well, it was a little too rough for my taste. I mean, you can see here, it's very soft, sandy, and loose, and then it just kind of disappears. It doesn't even look like it's a road anymore. And you know, I'm not from around here. I'm not trying to antagonize these folks. All I want to do is go for a soak. And so I thought I would just hike down this road to the hot spring, but guess what? The road really does totally disappear. Yeah, it comes down the hill from where I parked up there and into that soft area. Doesn't go that way, but it sure doesn't go this way. I don't know, man. I don't know how long ago that hot spring guidebook entry was written, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's as out of date as that website I read. Unless I'm doing something wrong, this is really frustrating. I've read 2 resources that say this is a perfectly soakable hot spring, and yet here I am, and I'm not able to find it. You know, you'd think there would at least be the remnants of an old 2-track road or something if this was the way to get there. I mean, in the guidebook, they did say it was best done with an ATV, but I mean, this isn't even an ATV trail. I have no idea what's going on here. And the hot spring is supposedly another mile from here, so that would be another mile of bushwhacking through this forest, which doesn't seem super advisable because, like I said, there's no cell signal here. I didn't have the foresight to download a map. I don't know where I am. And do I really want to die looking for this hot spring? No, the answer is no. I definitely do not want to die looking for one hot spring when there's still hundreds of other hot springs out there that I could enjoy. So as much as I hate giving up, I feel like I really exhausted every option here. You know, I tried driving to where the website said to go. I tried driving to where the guidebook said to go. And I even considered floating downstream to these dang hot springs. And none of those panned out. So I guess I'm gonna have to call this one a bust, a zonk, a fail. But on the bright side, at least no one busted my window. And that's probably at least partially due to the fact that I got my travel buddy Ben sitting in the driver's seat, faking anyone out who might be so bold as to think they could come bust my window and steal my stuff, okay? Part of the reason I made that last ditch attempt to get to these hot springs is the second to the last paragraph of the entry. Look at that note. Although all the pools are on private property, legally anything below the high water mark is open to public use. See, just like I was saying, technically anyone should be allowed to go soak in these dang hot springs. It's just a matter of getting to them. Listen, if you happen to be watching this video and you know which hot springs I'm trying to get to, and there is some other way that I'm not aware of, please email me at wonderhussy@gmail.com and let me know what I've been doing wrong. Because I feel like I've tried everything. And as much as I hate giving up, and as much as I hate being a quitter, sometimes there's nothing else you can do. Well, there is one other thing you can do, and that is go find a new place to camp and have another Consolation beer. It's still bitter.